All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Coffee and Cigars live stream for the Thursday Night Hang. We do this Thursday Night Hang every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. How's it going? Hope you're doing well. Mom, good to see you, man. How's everyone doing? How are you doing this week? Mom, wasn't it a Muslim holiday this week? I heard that there was a day, I think earlier this week, it was another part of the Eid. Is that right? Let me know. Let me know. I just thought about that just now. Monday. Okay. So, how's it going? I'm back from a trip. I did a quick trip starting yesterday up to Pennsylvania. Went to a place called Paoli, Pennsylvania, which is just outside of Philadelphia, to go visit the Wharton Esherick Museum. And Wharton Esherick was an artist and furniture designer from the early 1900s. So he was born in 1887 and moved to this house, this compound, right around 1915, I think. And so he was, he lived until 1970, passed away in 1970, and was one of the preeminent artists and furniture designers of that era. It was contemporaries with people like George Nakashima and other people of that era. Really interesting. So I'd heard about him and I wanted to go check it out because he creates these type of stools. I don't know if there's a photo of it in this. Like one of the things, they don't show it, but if you look him up, Wharton Esherick, he creates this three-legged stool that has this really beautiful like curves and like organic looking. It's really quite interesting. And so I only learned about him maybe a couple months ago. And I was like looking it up where he was from, and I was like, oh, this guy is from outside of Philadelphia, much like George Nakashima. Nakashima was from New Hope, Pennsylvania, which is a bit north of the city, and Wharton is from kind of southwest of the city. So it's kind of like, wow, all these, I don't know what it is about this era of artists and designers, but they're all from the Philly region, which is kind of strange to me, but, I don't know. I don't know. What can you do? What can you do? Rusty's with us. What's going on, Rusty, man? How are you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Mom says, oh, there was the Eid al-Adha. Is that correct? Eid al-Adha. Brian's with us. What's going on, Brian? Brian, I just got your message about Monday. I will have to. I can maybe give a tentative yes. Oh, it was on Saturday, says Mom. Okay, that's what it was. Yes, something was happening. We were doing something Saturday and stuff was closed. Something was closed, and we're like, why is it? Oh, someone was talking about how this one Nepali joint was closed on Saturday. Maybe the guys are Pakistani then, because I don't think Nepali are really Muslim. Anyway, they were closed, but someone was like, oh, it's probably from the Eid. And I was like, oh, the Eid. Devin, how are you, man? How are things down in Florida? So, yeah. So Wharton was this really interesting guy. And he was married to this woman. They had 5 children. And after many, many years, they kind of started drifting apart, much like Diego and Frida Kahlo from Mexico. And as we were going through the tour, they're telling me this story about how they kind of separated. They had a farmhouse on the property, and then Wharton had built a studio. And eventually, when they really kind of got more estranged, he moved to the studio, she moved to New York City. And I was like, oh, I wonder if it's kind of like Diego and Frida. I don't know. And I was curious. I forgot to ask them, but I was wondering, like, I wonder if since they were contemporaries of that era, contemporary artists in that part of the history, I wonder if they might have known each other or, friends or something. I don't know. George, how are you, man? Good to see you. The weather tonight is a little bit on the warmer side. Last night, I don't know how it was here last night, but I was outside of Philly last night. I was sitting outside. I was like, it's a little bit cool. I was hoping it was going to be like that tonight, but it seems that we're a little bit on the hot side. I think we're probably close to 90, at least during the day. I don't know how it is now. But, so, and that kind of leads us to where we were, to our cigar today, because I was coming back from Philadelphia. So I went to see the Esherick Museum yesterday, and then today there was a festool event at a place called WTB Woodworking up in the Philly area. So I decided, well, let me go check it out. I know the rep that's the Festool rep that's there. So we kind of hung out and just chatted about stuff. And then I came back, and on the way back, I stopped at State Line Tobacco, which is this tobacco center. They do, what most tobacco joints do, like shaggy tobacco for your cigarettes, but they also have quite a nice selection humidor. I don't know really who curates it, but it's pretty good. And so I went there and I was looking around, and the guy that was there, he was like, "Oh, you look interested?" I said, "No, no, I'm just kind of checking out the stuff." And I saw this one cigar called the Underrated, and I was like, "Oh, what's this Underrated?" And he was like, "Well, it's this what did he say? He mentioned the guy's name. Trying to look it up here. Yeah, Ron Harper. He mentioned, "Oh, it's Ron Harper's cigar," and I was like, I'm not familiar with that guy. Who is it?" Evidently, Ron Harper is some kind of basketball guy. Let's see here. I'm reading the Stogie Press review right now, introduced in early 2024. Oh, it's an homage to basketball legend Ron Harper, not just a celebrity cigar, but rather a cigar that's blended in collaboration with Harper himself. And actually, when he first told me this is, it was made with Harper, and I was like, "And who?" And I said, "I'm sorry, but I don't know who that is." And he's like, "Well, it's a basketball star." And I was like, "Oh." And in my hubris, I dismissed it right away. I was like, "No, no, no, no. How would a basketball dude know any? Just because he's a basketball guy doesn't mean he's gonna make a nice cigar." But I turned my back to it, and I walked around some more, looked at some other cigars, and I did look at the price point of this. So here in Delaware, the shop's in Delaware, just across the state line, it's $9 a cigar. And I looked at a couple other stuff, and I was like, "Oh, there's a other one called DQ or QD or whatever. It had this kind of woven band, and that was like $13. And there was another cigar from Aladino that was $19, a nice special cigar. I was like, you know what? I don't want to spend that kind of money. I'm going to spend the $9. So I went back to the Underrated because it actually kind of caught my eye. It was next to the Roma Craft boxes, and it kind of had a Roma Craft-ish look to it, even though the boxes are different. They're more like plywood and not the solid core cedar that Roma Craft uses. But they're right next to us. So I was kind of like, oh, I wonder if they made it. But evidently it's made by Luciano. Luciano's a cigar maker in, I think, Esteli. Is that right? I'm going to look it up here on what they say. And well, we'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, that's kind of how we got to tonight's cigar, the Luciano Underrated. And we're going to try that a little bit. But first, we're going to make some coffee as we normally do. And so I've been making this coffee all week long because I roasted it up on Monday. And so I wanted to try it out. And we've been doing it in different ways, but always with the AeroPress Go. If you're not familiar with this, we haven't used this in quite a while. Actually, since the winter when we were at the roast at the new shop space, the AeroPress Go is kind of this travel AeroPress. So it's a compact coffee brewing system, method, whatever. So it comes with this case, which has this silicone-ish type cap, but the cap is really there just to contain everything. It doesn't, I guess you could use it if you wanted to use it as a weighing container. You could put your beans and weigh it in here. I guess that's what you could use for. All this time I've had it, and I only thought about that use at this very moment. Not very forward thinking, but the cap, the body is a cup, so you can use this to drink out of. So that's kind of nice. And inside it comes with a stirrer that folds out. So you stir it and fold it out like this, right? And it comes with a little holder for your filters. But the problem with this holder, and I don't know if this is like this on all of them, but it doesn't lock. Like it's just open. And that's just like, why does it not lock? It should snap shut, so I don't have to worry about the filter spilling out. But now I always have to worry about the filter spilling out, so I always have to hold it in a positive setting so that I can make sure it doesn't spill out. And so that's very irritating. But the AeroPress, if you remember the regular ones, it's much smaller. So the regular press goes up 1, 2, 3, 4. This is just 1, 2, 3. So it's a bit shorter, but the diameter is the same. Everything's the same except for the shortness, right? Just stubby, still thick. And it works the same way. You pull it open. There's a plunger here, right? And you push that together. And then when you're done, when you steep the coffee and then you plunge it down, it gives some pressure to it to help the extraction. So it's a pressurized extraction, but not heavily pressurized. So it's not like espresso, even though Alan Adler, the guy that developed this, it was his idea to make like espresso out of it, but it doesn't make espresso. Like if you want an espresso like coffee, you'd have to put a lot of coffee in it and just concentrate your brew. But it's very nice. People love it. It came out the original came out in 2005. People love it. Rusty is the 2015 United States Aeropress champion. I'm the 2012 US Aeropress champion, which means nothing in 2025. It's, we're old people who cling onto past glory. So we're going to put this all together and grind it up here. Let me catch up on some of the comments. George says that Ron Harper played with Michael Jordan on some of the Chicago Bulls championship. So he's fairly an older dude in sports. Jordan might have gotten him into cigars. Okay. Oh, cool. Rusty says, what's the countdown at before the end of year? I don't know what that means, but we're going to find out. Rusty says, has Jordan ever done a collab for us? I think he has. I want to say he has. Tony and them will know better than I will. Oh, we're talking about school. Okay, got 4 days remain. Last day for our lovely scholars on 6/18. Oh gosh, really? 6/18. That's next week. Oh yeah, well, I guess it is Friday tomorrow. So yeah, that makes sense. Rusty says our last day is tomorrow. Graduation is Monday. Nice. You guys are almost done. Almost free. I'm going to give you congratulations when you're free. Okay, so we got our coffee. We're going to use this House Nation. Like I said, I roasted it on Monday. We've been using it for the whole time. Devin says Privada had some sort of cigar from Jordan, $30, but pretty good. Oh, okay. All right, awesome. I guess maybe I'm thinking of Ray Lewis had a cigar. The phone is just far enough away from my face now that I think that will help. Maybe I'll just pull it closer. It's probably better. That's worse. Okay, so we're going to take our grinder. We're using the Porlex grinder. I think we used this last week or the week before. It's just a nice little hand grinder. And the cap comes off. And you just put the coffee inside. The coffee holds more or less 24 grams of coffee. So we're just going to fill it up here. Let me tilt down so you can see what I'm doing. Well, a little bit more. You can go all the way to the top. So usually about that much is pretty good, right? So put that in there. It goes on top. It's got this hexagonal kind of like shaft. And then we grind. Rusty says the next show should be best celebrity cigar collabs. Like who else has done celebrity cigar collabs? Okay, so evidently there's Jordan. There's this Harper cigar that we're going to smoke today. There was the Ray Lewis. Who else did collaborations? I've been doing this for the last couple of days, so I'm kind of tired now. So as you can see, it's ambidextrous because I'm actually right-handed, not left-handed. Okay, that's much better. It's finished. Devin likes the idea. Awesome. I'll have to find these. David Ortiz, or is it David Ochoa? David Ochoa or David Ochoa? David 8. Oh, wrong one. Then, like I said, this has this. Oh, I don't know if I said this, but it has a sieve so you can separate out the fines from the rest of it to try to keep your not your coffee from getting overtly bitter from too much extraction, right? Okay, put all that away now. Good. Rusty says, is it Chad 85? 85. Whoops. Carl Malone evidently says, Mom, he also did a collaboration cigar. Are these still available, or were they like at some different point in time? Nos the Rapper. Oh, Nos the Rapper has a cigar? Oh, nice. Oh, the Guy Fieri knuckle sandwich. Oh, right, right, right. All right, so we got the coffee in here. We're just going to shake it out, level it out. I've got hot water already in this thermal. I've been cheating with this. It makes it so much easier than having to boil water. And all you have to do is pour it in. And the results are really good because this Zojirushi container is really very good. So I put a little bit in there, and now we need our stir. So we're going to stir it a little bit up just to make sure that it all gets saturated. Okay, good, 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 good. Then we're going to fill up with more water. Good, good, good. Now, normally we use this, and we use a filter to go with it, but we've been using these other filter caps like this. We're going to use this one. This is the Fellow, whatever you call it, Fellow something, and it comes with a metal mesh filter, a metal screen, a laser cut metal screen with a one-way valve. And we used it with some disastrous results this morning, where the whole thing was shooting out prematurely. And one of the guys on the morning show was like, "Why did you do it upside down if you got the valve?" And I was like, "Well, I didn't even think about it." And again, we're doing it again without thinking too much about it. So I don't know if it's going to shoot out, but as I turn it over, we're going to see if we can recreate this. So as I turned it over this morning, it shot out like it was taking a piss. So it was really kind of interesting. So let's see. Will it do it again? Oh, I'm losing control of. Oh, yeah. See that again? Why does it do that? Why does it do that? I don't know. Huh. So there's a point where it reaches its apogee and it starts to shoot out, but then it stops. So I don't know. All right. So now we're just going to press down. So just press down gently. You don't have to press down really hard. And that's going to push all the liquid out. And you hear that little sizzling? That's just the air being pushed through the puck. And you're pretty much done. And that's it. And we've got our coffee here all ready to go. So as you can see, we've got the coffee in there. Now, I'm going to actually transfer it to my thermal mug that I'm going to hit with a little bit of hot water just to heat it up. I'm going to pour it in. And you can see now, there, now I'm going to add some water to it to bring it to volume. So I'm going to not go, maybe 10 ounces, right about there. You can see it's a little bit cloudy, right? There's a little bit of sediment that comes through because of the metal filter. Metal filters always allow more sediment than paper. However, I've noticed this week that even if we're using the paper on the regular filters or filter holders, it's still letting sediment through. So go figure. Yeah. Some of the other guys say that we should do 2 filters, but it's not that it's terrible. It's just different. That's all. All right, there's that cacao. It's got a nice cacao. Right now, it's kind of soft. Actually, it's not as good as it can be. I'm feeling that there's a softness to it that is unusual. That's kind of masking the cacao. Now, remember, I roasted this on Monday. And now I can really kind of tell about the CO2. So one of the byproducts of coffee roasting is that the coffee, for about a period of a week, starts to emanate CO2 as a byproduct of roasting. That CO2 emanation is why a lot of people will tell you to wait a week or 10 days after the roast date to drink your coffee, because it needs that time for the coffee to degas, all of the CO2 to degas, because the CO2 occludes your taste abilities and you don't get the full flavor experience. And I can see that here. Actually, it's much more apparent now than it has been the last couple of days. But really, now it's in full force. Like, it's just a very different, soft on the palate, like soft pH, and like not just different, just very different. Not as good, not as chocolatey, not as cocoa as I would expect. Okay, we're going back a little bit to see. Devin says, Rusty, a Chad Ochocinco Johnson, but I think the cigar is called Ocho. I could be wrong. Okay. I don't know. Mom says Mike Tyson also had a cigar. Oh, right, Mike Tyson. Rusty says the hockey stick stir. Oh, yeah, this one. Yeah, the hockey stick stir. Yeah, it's kind of strange. I don't know why they made that shape. I don't know what the science is behind this stir. Oh, the Prismo is right, the fellow Prismo. I can never remember these names. George says that it would take some research to find, but the Sopranos from CEO can be kind of cool. You mean, but were they done like as a collaboration or just more in honor or in and under license? I never tried one of the Sopranos. Even though I was a big fan of Sopranos, I never tried one. Speaking of Sopranos, and those of you who are like haven't seen it, they're like, oh, spoiler alert. Well, you know what, man? The show ended in 2007. No more spoiler alerts. I hate that. I hate when people like talk about shows and they're like, "Oh, spoiler alert!" What? Oh, dude, the show's over. If you didn't watch it when it came out, but especially now that it's been 12 years or whatever it is, you missed out. You just missed out. Not 12. What is it? 17. You know, I don't know. 15. 15 years. No. 27. 2007. 2017. 18 years. Almost 20 years later. Yeah. Probably some grime in the seal. I wash coffee step with washing soda, but do not use an aluminum. But I don't know if it's in the because it's not in. Well, it may be in the seal. You mean the seal of the hole, the orifice? Maybe it could be. It could be. Mom's still has that cigar and it has a black and the Sopranos one. Oh yeah. I remember that when they had like they looked like they were in a the box looked like it was a trunk of a car, like you're putting bodies in the trunk. Yeah, they got it. Devin says two filters never work. I cut out an oversized filter from my V60 Cafe Abaca, and I've never had grinds in the cup. Well, it's not grinds, right? I'm not getting any grinds in the cup. I'm just getting like it's just a heavier sediment, not necessarily grinds. Oh, George is like me, and we never had it, and I don't know why I've never had it. Like I was a fan of the show, and I never had one. But those of you who have seen Sopranos, right? Do you think Tony Soprano was dead or alive? Was he killed in that last episode? I say no. I like the idea that Tony Soprano was able to live his life after the show. That's what I would like to inflect onto the Sopranos universe. That's my thought. That's my thought. I want Tony Soprano to live. I want, or you know what what I would really like to have seen was because there was a couple times that she got a little bit vicious, right? I would like to have seen Meadow take over the family business. Like I would like to see Meadow rise. Like remember when she like stepped in and like the family friends or the girls were all talking about things and in front of another person and she totally like snapped at them and told them, I can't believe you talk about this in front of an outsider. And I was like, oh man, Meadow could totally be the next Dawn. I mean, that's totally rewriting how things work, but I would be very much in support of that storyline. Rusty said, "Is there a Sopranos prequel coming out? How to?" I heard that, and isn't it going to be with his son, the Gandolfini boy that was in the New Jersey? What's it called? The other movie that I never saw the other prequel, the Prince of the City or whatever it's called. I never saw that. I meant to watch it, but never got around to it. I heard it was pretty good. Prince of New Jersey, or I don't know. It's also kind of one of those things where I kind of like, I don't know. can you really replace The Sopranos? Like, The Sopranos was so classic. And would it hold up today? Like, The Sopranos came out in what, the 90s, like 1999, something like that. A whole different world, a whole different America. The nation had a different outlook on life. And imagine like the way that the outlook of the United States and our nation was back in when Sopranos debuted, versus just a few years later during the run of Sopranos, and when Battlestar Galactica, the remake, came out. So much in 2003, so much darker, so much heavier, so much less bright, and much more bleak. It makes me wonder, like, if we were to release a show today like that, that would kind of be reflective of, of modern times without necessarily being in modern times, what kind of tone would that show take on? All right, so time to get to our cigar. $9 at the State Line Tobacco. This is the Luciano Underrated. Evidently, it is a cigar that was an homage and to and developed with basketball legend Ron Harper. And I'm saying this like I know it, but I don't really know this. I'm just reading off of the Stogie Press release. So let's see here. Underrated Cigars and Harper's collaboration is a testament to the beauty of discovery and the true value that lies in the unexpected. I'm guessing that this write-up that's in the Cigar Press is actually a press release from Luciano Cigars, because the superlatives are quite thick on this one. Just as Harper's contributions on the court often transcended the spotlight, Underrated Cigars offers a smoking experience that exceeds the bounds of preconceptions, inviting connoisseurs to explore depth, complexity, and satisfaction beyond the conventional. Like, if you are a journalist writing a legitimate, like, objective review, and this is the way you write, good God, man, that is just ridiculous. So continuing on, Harper himself noted, "In every stage of my career, I've seen firsthand how the unexpected can harbor greatness. This partnership on the construction of Underrated is an homage to those moments and to everyone who revels in the joy of discovering the exceptional in the unanticipated. When you defy expectations, you have a chance to delight in the underrated." Wow, man, just hitting on all of the marketing notes here, right? All right, I think now we're moving to the part where Stogie Press is actually writing it. Luciano Cigars has taken Connecticut broadleaf and Ecuadorian HVA, which is, I don't know what HVA, and they don't even provide a breakdown of what it is, customarily seen as wrappers, and reinvented them as fillers for this blend. Oh, so the fillers are the Connecticut broadleaf and the Ecuadorian Havana VA? What would HVA be? What in the world is that going to be? Let's see. What are people saying? Rusty says, think about the prequel, about how the Star Wars prequel comes out how many years later. If they had one, there would be a following to check. But I wonder. I mean, okay, I hear you. I hear. I just wonder. I wonder. Like, does The Sopranos resonate as the zeitgeist that Star Wars had been? Like, I don't know necessarily if people really are clamoring for a continuation of Sopranos. I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. So I'm asking. This is my. I'm positing this out there. Perhaps, like Star Wars, we wanted to know what happened to Princess Leia. What happened to all this? I mean, we did get a prequel for that. The dismally inferior 1, 2, and 3. But I mean, people. I don't know. I'm interested. I'm interested to hear what you think about that. Mom says, "Did you meet Lee Mack at State Line?" I don't know who I met there. I don't even know I don't even know the people there. And every time I've gone there, there was a South Asian gentleman there, two of them. but I don't know who they were. And the one guy that I talked to was just very not terribly forthcoming with information. Like it's like what's this cigar all about? Oh, it's a new. Okay, I got that, but tell me about the darn cigar so that maybe hook me on why I should try it at $13. And he didn't say anything, so I was like, okay, that's fine, I'll move on. I was like, I don't necessarily, I can save $4 by buying this cigar, right? So I don't know who was there. I don't know who was there. The other South Asian gentleman that was at the register, he was very nice. He was very calm. He was like, "Oh, can I take care of you?" Of course. Thank you very much. George is letting us know that he's enjoying a West Tampa Circle of Life with some 100% agave tequila. Oh, very nice. Which tequila are you drinking? That's what I'm curious to know. Yeah, and let me know what you guys are smoking. I'm always interested to know. I always want to know what you are smoking here. So what else do they have to say about it? So the wrapper, Mexican San Andres. Binder, Pueblo Nuevo Medio Tempo. Which Pueblo Nuevo? Does that mean that it comes from also Mexico? Or maybe that's from Nicaragua? Packaged in boxes of 20 and are expressed in 5 vitolas with extremely wallet-friendly pricing. And $9 is pretty good. Not as good as last week's, the one that was like $5, $6. That was very friendly pricing. But evidently this Toro Especial, the MSRP is $8.20. So not too much more in Delaware at $9. 6.25 by 52. Okay, let's see what other stuff they talk about. Ed Trevino, the vice president of sales of Luciano Cigars, is quoted as saying here, after months of seeing Luciano experimenting with these tobaccos, in awe when he gave me a mystery to smoke at our factory in Nicaragua last summer. This article was released 2024, August 2027, 2024. So he's talking about a period in summer of 2023. This cigar is a tribute to Luciano's imagination. His ingenious use of high-quality leaves and non-traditional rolls brings forth an unparalleled sensory journey, proving that magnificence often lies unnoticed. Man, these superlatives are abound in this. Then Luciano Meireles, president and founder of Luciano Cigar, stated, "The story of Underrated is about surprise, the unexpected pleasure of discovering something remarkable where one least expects it." That's not bad. Okay. At least the head of the company is a little bit more reserved on the verbiage, like a little bit more understated. Okay, I kind of dig that. I dig that more. Like the other stuff is just like way over the top. They're just like so the effusion of like superlatives is just like almost comical, to be honest with you. The cigars produced at Luciano Cigars Factory in Esteli, Nicaragua, and shipped to retail partners in January of 2024. Okay, so there it is. And in person, it looks very nice. It is very nice looking. It's not as smooth and silky as other cigars. It's slightly rough, like a little bit dry feeling, but it's got a clean, very light barnyard, tobacco-ish aroma or fragrance. So let's get a new score sheet running here. So we've had quite a lot of cigars where the manure, the barnyard is very forward, very strong. Some of it's very enticing, but a lot of it's just strong. And this, a lot more reserved. And we're talking about more of what is it? This is the Mexican San Andres wrapper. Look at the nice coloration, nice finish. Like it's no veins or anything like that. Pretty nice and like full in the hand. Like I like it. I like this thickness. This 52 thickness is nice. I really like 52 to 54, like as far as thick. I don't want anything larger than 54. 56 maybe, but 56 starts to get big. And then 60, no. No, no, no. No, we have to have some relaxation on that, right? Rusty says he's halfway through his Partagas Añejo Esplendido. And how is that? That sounds just delicious. George says also Altos Great Tequila for $30. Oh, nice. Oh, Altos is a great tequila for $30. Gotcha, gotcha. So we've got nice color. Let me just make some notes here. Pretty dark on the wrapper, right? Pretty dark. The fragrance, I would say, intensity, not terribly intense, like kind of like lower medium. Now we're gonna cut and get to our cold draw. Like, I'm grateful to sleep in my cousin's house, but she has this bedroom where it just has these blinds and they're not terribly like dark. And I need a dark room. Like, I'm very light sensitive when sleeping. So like it gets daylight at like 5 o'clock. And so like I can't sleep anymore. I'm just lying there, like trying to sleep. It was really kind of rough. Okay, so cold draw is kind of tight. If I pull on it really hard, or so if I'm just puffing normally, very nondescript, not really getting anything. But if I suck on it harder, I get some level of sweetness across the tongue. But you really got to puff on it hard. So let's light it up. All right. Initial thoughts that those puffings for during the light. What I have on my palate at the moment is kind of dirty, ashy, not very pleasant. Darker. I'm hoping that it's going to make way to other flavors, and it feels like it wants to. But right now, it's still a little bit dirty, a little bit maybe ashy, dark. So, how's your guys' week been? Mine was all right. I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but I ended up getting a bandsaw that I'm working on restoring now. Like, I've kind of fallen into the rabbit hole now. I'm like, oh God. I took it apart and I kind of tried to acid wash it to get all the old residue and paint off. And since it's sand casted aluminum cast iron, the sand casting leaves like, sand like pits in the surface of the frame, which even though I'm putting like paint stripper, it's not easy to get out. So I've kind of reached a point where I'm like, this is just futile. So I called up this dude that I know that does sandblasting. He's like, yeah, man, I can sandblast that. I was like, all right, maybe I'll go there Saturday and have it blasted. But now that I'm thinking about blasting it, I was thinking I was going to paint it, right? The idea was I was going to paint it. But then I saw this guy online and he was talking about clear coating. And then I remember my friend Sonia in Reykjavik, Iceland. She has a Gießen coffee roaster and she had a custom made, completely steel and cast iron. No paint, no primer, just clear coat on. It looked pretty awesome when she got it a couple years back. I was like, oh, that's awesome. So I'm thinking maybe I will just clear coat this thing and that will be better. So I didn't like the first puffs, but it's improving. It's darker. It's kind of like darker and brooding and kind of It's kind of got this mood, this brooding mood of like darkness, like forbidding. George says, I picked up a crack on this cigar, or are you talking about you picked up a crack? A crack. You know, it's a lot of cigars will have, and they will have some kind of fanfare, maybe some spice. This has this really dark character to the flavor. I don't know if I like it. It's darker. It's a little bit heavier. It's not heavy, but weighty. It's a weighty cigar. But it's kind of like a weight on your palate. Nothing dancing, nothing exciting, just kind of heavy tobacco, brooding, dark. Like, I don't know. Is it because, am I getting this feeling because I read all these superlatives? I don't know. Am I subconsciously turned off by the superlatives, so I'm like not liking this? I don't know. But I'm not finding this to be as exciting initially in this first part of the first third. I'm not finding it as exciting as what I had been reading. And let's see what Cigar Press did a review on it after. So what did they have to say? Cigar Review Notes. Let's see what they're saying for the first third. Oh, did they say anything? Like here, they say at the start of their journey, sweet cream and pepper. Am I getting sweet cream? Maybe there's a heavy cream. Maybe that could be it. Like a dark coffee with cream. Maybe. Devin says, I had the Monte Cristo Espada, which is a Plasencia cigar, really good. I'm smoking an Illusione Singular Churchill. Oh, nice. That's a good one. That's a good one. What else do they have? They say that they'll have graham cracker notes. Maybe there could be graham cracker there. Dark chocolate. I don't really get chocolate necessarily. Just a heavy. Maybe their idea of dark chocolate is this heavy, brooding character to the cigar. Let's see what else people say on the internet about this. Luciano Underrated. Let's see what the Catman, cigar reviews by the Catman. Let's have to see what he has to say. And he reviewed the Toro Especial, just like this one. So here's what Catman says. He likes it firm, fat, and has the complete map of Mars on its wrapper. I guess that means it was kind of rough. One doodle, my firmly punch in the lander touch. Oh God, I don't even know what he's talking about now. The draw is a minor miracle, some resistance, and giving me the nod that construction is soft. So he did have some resistance, like I'm having here during the cold draw. Construction is solid, like my stools. What in the world is this guy even talking about? After coming back from the Vietnam War, my friend John Turner used his Marine Corpsman knowledge to become surgery tech at Long Beach Memorial. We would get blasted weekends to relate what it was like to be operating on impacted bowels. The techniques were gruesome, but the way he could explain the smell and how the surgeon would scream at John not to pull away, it was worth smoking a whole joint to get through it. This is going to be a long smoke. Oh, wow. Maybe he doesn't like it. The drawer is full of angel hair pasta with sly notes of stone. What in the world is this guy even talking about? Chocolate at Forest Dawn has the slightest creaminess. Indescribable earthy quotient is there with light mushrooms and black caviar. Mushrooms and black caviar, that could be an interesting description. He gets notes of cream corn. Wow. All right, this guy writes crazy. George says, sorry, Sears behaving poorly. Devin says, you look like you had a, well, I was like maybe a week ago or so, maybe a week ago. Oh, it's just, it's just because I've been sweating a lot today. So it just kind of got this curve to it at the moment. Rusty says, I just went to the Casa de Monte Cristo and picked up the new Monte Cristo Bardstown Bourbon Painful. Wow. And it also bit the bullet for the Cohiba Weller. Ooh. Probably paid. Well, it's the end of school year. Might as well enjoy it. Why not? Why not? Now, when you go to the Casa de Monte Cristo, when the last time I was up in the Jersey area driving through, there was one. I think it was on Route 3. Is that the one you went to? Kind of close to Paramus? Is that? I mean, I presume there's other ones. Okay, so I think it's getting more interesting. Like it's not. Maybe I'm just getting used to it. I don't know. We'll see. It's not bad. Don't get me wrong. It's not bad. It's not like I'm not. I'm starting to find enjoyment with it. It's kind of got this darker character. Like, for lack of, it may seem like I have no real reference to cigars other than this one cigar. But going back to the Intemperance Revenge from Roma Craft, right? If you could imagine that the heft, the darkness of Roma's Intemperance Revenge without, okay, if you the darkness of the revenge without the weight and heaviness of it, the weight of the smoke, the intensity of that, that's kind of what this is giving off. It's not heavy, but it's got this dark, brooding character to it. I liken the flavor of this cigar to that sulking guy, right? You're the sulking goth guy that's just kind of angry and sitting down. That's kind of this cigar. That's how I would describe the character of the cigar, not the flavor, but the character. George says, "How is the guy getting angel hair pasta from a cigar?" Yeah, I don't know. You should really look at his review. It's kind of ridiculous. Come on, this is like me saying I'm a 6'6" with a full. And I think if you guys ever follow Skip Martin on Facebook, like every once in a while he writes about this and bitches about it. And he's like, it just tastes like tobacco, right? He's like, we don't need all these superlatives. And in a lot of respects, like I totally get it. Like, do you like it? Do you not like it? I don't. And this, and if we break it down to that simple, I don't dislike this cigar. Meaning, currently at this moment in this progress of the cigar, I don't dislike it. I'm waiting to see where it's going to go. Dark, brooding, but it's not. I don't find it to be terribly dynamic. Like it's brooding, it's sulking. It's just kind of like there, just kind of like. But right now it's static. Holding that note, it knocked off a little bit of that. Like I think maybe for me, when I smoke a cigar, I would like it to take me on a journey. I don't know what kind of journey, but a journey. And I feel like I'm waiting for this journey to begin. Like we have a note. Like it starts off like if we think about a music, like it starts off with a chord, right? But we're holding that chord. We're holding that note, and I'm wondering when will that note change? Devin says, "Does it write in its does it write in its diary about the tragedy?" I don't know if it's that quite brooding yet. Right now, I think it's just kind of sulking there, sulking. I don't think it's getting. I don't know if it doesn't feel like it's ready to get off the couch. And that's not to say this is a bad cigar. Like there is some interest to this, right? It's got roundness. It's got nice, and that last puff had a little bit more intensity, a little bit more fullness of flavor. But it seems right now it's just been holding the note. Now, other than that, construction feels very nice. Burn, so far, the burning is very nice. The smoke production is pretty good. Like it's not as copious as smoke. Like it's a little bit tighter with the smoke. I think because maybe it's a little bit of a tighter roll. Like we had a pretty tight cold draw. And if I compare it to the draw of other cigars we've had recently, this is definitely the tighter side of draw. So we're not getting so as I draw, I'm not getting as much smoke onto the palate as I would with other cigars we've had. So that could all be at play here. Okay, let's have some coffee with this. This occluded coffee. Yeah, not too great. Not too great. I think on this morning's live stream, I didn't notice the occlusion as much because I was eating sobrietelle and Italian cookies. So when you have Italian cookies, you really don't need to have your coffee. Doesn't your coffee is just a vessel. It doesn't have to be that much. A little bit of uneven burn starting, but I think maybe that's because the way I'm puffing on it. A little bit dirty on the palate, that last puff. So, like I said, today I went up to this event at WTV Woodworking in outside of Pennsylvania, in a place called Feasterville, Pennsylvania. And because today was this, they had this event about how to saw stuff, and I didn't really ask him about any of that. But also today was like a big day for Festool people because they released some new products today. They have a sander that they released today. That's a cordless battery powered sander that has a light, a ring light on it to as a raking light. And interestingly, it's not cheap. It's definitely not cheap. It's pricey, but in the world of Festool, it was surprisingly not too expensive. Meaning that you have the regular sanders, the corded sanders. These new sanders that have a lot more features actually are only $56 more than the other ones. So I was like, oh, I'm surprised they didn't make it like $100 and $200 more. Like Festo used to be like crazy price, but I think they're starting to. I think they might be starting to think more about competing with other brands in America. Not necessarily the Ryobis, but more like the DeWalt's and Milwaukee's. So while they're not lowering prices to the point of DeWalt and Milwaukee, they're like not as dramatically expensive. So if you're actually thinking about buying like a track saw, now would be the good time because Festool has this track saw that there's one that's battery powered and there's one that's corded. And the price for this special track saw, which is their 100th anniversary. There's nothing different with the saw. They give you a different colored box for it, which is kind of cool if you're into that kind of thing. But they give you this set of headphones that's made by Isotunes that's normally like $180, and they're giving that for free. So it's like you get this free headphones. And just as a comparison, I was looking at the Festool United Kingdom site, and the UK, they have the same package for the saw and the box, but they're giving you a free cap, not free $180 headphones. They're giving you free like $35 cap. So it's like, oh, the American version is much better, much better. But I don't really have a need for another saw, so I'm like, oh, that doesn't do me any good. George says, sounds to me like the name Underrated reflects is in the blend. Ah, maybe always wanting a little bit more taste. That could be, that could be. But I mean, the superlative that they were giving from this press release is just like I would expect it to be like, oh, but it's not like that. To me, at least not to me, not to my palate. And I think that kind of brings up a good point when it comes to what any kind of taste experience is that everyone's palate is a bit different, right? Everyone has a different interpretation. Everyone has a bit of a different enjoyment and experience with something. So while I might find it to be right now relatively one note, somebody else, one of you, might think that this is like the greatest cigar ever released. Maybe I'm missing something, right? I mean, you might smoke this, you're like, dude, you're missed out completely. You totally missed the whole point, and that's perfectly plausible. Not likely, but okay. There's a little bit more development happening now. There's a little bit of brightness coming under the tongue. The burn is a little bit odd. So next week, I think we're going to be on the road, or I'll be coming to you from another location. I've been asked to do some training on Thursday next week, so I'm going to do that on Thursday. But that happens in the afternoon, so I suspect that the training will run pretty close to the start time of this next episode. So we'll probably end up doing it from somewhere out in the field, out in the wild. Okay, maybe I'm puffing on it too hard because I'm getting that unevenness, right? Like I'm still waiting for this thing to like really take me somewhere. Like a few puffs ago, we had that. I said we had the brightness, right? That brightness now is diminished. Now it's just kind of a little bit hot, which I'm going to put the cigar down for a few moments and see if we can let it just kind of burn on its own. Maybe that kind of heat will simmer down. You know, it's that kind of like you feel a little bit of heat that kind of suggests that maybe it wants to bite the palate, but it's not there yet. And if you keep puffing heavier, then it might. So yesterday, as I was, I went to, of course, like I said, I went to the Wharton Eschert Museum. But on the way up there, since I was going up there, I thought I would stop by my favorite hardwood supplier and go see if they have more koa wood for me to harvest. And they did. But while I was there, in their offcut bin, like offcut bins are usually offcuts, right? But they had this big slab in their offcut bin, and the offcut bin. So there's the core offcuts that are $4 a pound. All the other offcuts are $1 a pound. So I saw this piece, and I was like, man, that could be another like side table, like a live edge kind of side table. But it's got a huge hole in it, like a huge, like rotted hole. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I was hemming and hawing on it. I put it on a scale. And I was like, oh, 38 pounds. It'd be like 38 bucks, 40 bucks with tax. And I was like, man. So I bought my koa and I was like, oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna get that. There was another guy that was looking at it while I was looking at it. I was like, okay, this. Then after we did the live stream yesterday, I was like, if it's still there, I'm gonna go get it. Because I was like, you know what? I mean, I don't know when I'll get to it, but maybe in a couple months. But I was like, man, it's like, it's too nice to pass up. It's 40 bucks. And I think we can make an epic table out of it. So, I got it, and I'll show it to you. It's right behind me, right here. This big old white oak. It's white oak. It's like 12 quarter. Wow, that is thick. A lot of sapwood here that has to be cut off. But as you can see, hopefully it's not too punked out, although it looks a little bit punked. I'm gonna have to get into it to see. So this was rejected by the shop. It's too much of a void. But I think there might be some beauty to be had there. I like the voids. I like these weird, funky things in wood. Like I'm down with like the clear wood, right? Like this chair that I'm rebuilding is pretty clear. Like it's very clear. Like this seat is very clear, right? No voids, no weird aberrations, no like knots or anything. Just very clean. And there's a beauty to that as well. But I do like the voids. So I've been thinking recently that I would like to build one of these chairs, right, out of the koa. But you know, koa is very wildly expensive if you bought the lumber. And in the cutoff bins, they're just cutoffs. They're like pieces, random pieces. Sometimes they're long, little thin pieces. And I'm assembling them for this other table. But I was thinking, well, if I could assemble that for my chair, the seat, that would be cool. But it's the verticals. It's these, right? Like it's these pieces. This leg here, for example, and the rear leg. These are pretty long. And you need some pretty straight dimensional lumber for that. But yesterday, when I was digging through the pile, I was like, oh my gosh. There were these two pieces. There's this long, like 5/4 piece, right? These could be the two front legs. And then there was this thicker, like 6/4 shorter piece that can be the back leg and back stretcher. I was like, oh, all right. So now I've got the two pieces that I need for the legs. Now, over the next several months, whenever I go there, I'll just slowly piece together what I need for the seat. And then eventually, we'll have the whole thing. So for me, kind of exciting, kind of exciting. But like this table, or this chair, I'm fixing because like all the joints on this chair failed. These two joints, there's a half lap here and loose mortar tenon here. They all failed because I had used regular cyano. Oh no, not I used regular PVA polyvinyl acrylic glue, which is basically any kind of your normal wood glue. And since this is what's called thermally processed red cedar or red oak, the thermal processing prevents the glues from really adhering. So these joints both failed. And then I was waiting for this joint here to fail with this leg. But for some reason, it was actually more stable than these other two. But it finally, just the other day before I left, it finally it wiggled loose. And I was like, okay, so I was able to pull it out. And now I just got to sand it up. And to reattach them, you need a filling glue, like Gorilla Glue, what they call, was it polyurethane glue, which I used on those other two joints. So they're much solid. And once I put this together with the polyurethane glue, it should be perfectly fine after that. But like I've probably said this before, but the thermal oak is really good as I think as an outdoor cladding or outdoor decking. But as a furniture lumber, I don't think I like it. Although it's supposedly stable enough that I can probably just leave this outside and let it get rained on. Which eventually I think I'm going to try that and see how it might survive the rest of the summer. Okay, so a little bit better. The brightness has returned on these puffs again. So not bad. It's a good cigar. Like the first third, I think I would categorize as good, not very good. Like I don't find it very good. So I think for the first third, let's see, our body, I'm thinking is kind of medium plus body, and maybe that body is very good, like maybe 825. But flavor wise, I'm only finding it to be good. So I'm thinking 775. I mean, construction wise, it's been very nice. Looks like there's a little bit of crack developing right there on the wrapper. Now, I picked this up from the humidor and took it to the cash register. They put it into this bag. And then I drove here. So I got this probably right around 5 o'clock. So I don't know if that would be like a reflection of conditions or not. I mean, but it's, they do have a nice humidor at State Line. So I don't think that's a big factor. But it's only a small crack in the wrapper, not really any kind of, there's no seepage or leaking or side venting of the suction. So it's still drawing very nicely. Actually, I think I'm liking it a little bit more now. There's a little bit of spice, like a little bit of cayenne pepper starting to emerge, or at least a suggestion of cayenne pepper. Oh, for those of you who are into tools, by the way, I was talking to the Festool rep, to Phil, and he's like, man, next week is the vendor day at Paul B Hardware in Lidditz. And I was like, what? And evidently it's the one day of the year where that Lidditz, Paul B gets all of their vendors to come out and do demos. So like the parking lot has a lot of vendors. So there's a whole bunch of vendors going to be there. So if you're interested in tools and seeing them next Wednesday at Paul B Hardware in Lidditz, it's about an hour and a half from Baltimore. If you're interested, it should be kind of interesting. Like this hardware store is pretty wild, pretty wild. George says, Circle of Life was great, possibly reviewable. Okay, okay. And on to the Padron 5000. All right, I will look for that Circle of Life. Yeah, I stopped by this place because I wasn't sure what time I would actually get back to Baltimore, like if I would get back in time to do this episode here. So I decided I would swing by the state line and pick up something just in case. I mean, I had plenty of time by the time I got to state line, but I was taking my time coming back. I went to the Woodcraft in Wilmington, and then I went to Mallin's Deli for lunch, a late lunch. And then if you're ever up in Newark, Pennsylvania, Delaware, which is just across the border, right by the University of Delaware, the University of Delaware has an agricultural program where they have and they grow their own cows and all that, and they have this whole husbandry ag program. And what I found with universities that have big ag programs is that they will typically have a creamery, an ice cream creamery that's open to the public. And I learned this last year when I went by. I heard about the University of Connecticut Dairy Bar. So we drove out to the University of Connecticut, went to their ice cream shop there, and it was fantastic. And last summer, I found this place at the University of Delaware. So anytime that I'm there and I have the time and it's the right moment and they're still open, I usually try to stop by. And the ice cream's pretty darn good. So I went in, there was a girl, Emily, that's a music major. And I said, what's really good? What do you really like? And she's like, I really like this thing called Delaware River Mud Pie. So I was like, good, I'll have that. And, mud pie, kind of like, chocolate, graham crackers. I don't know what else is in it, but it was really good, really good. And the nice thing, what I really like about, going to like good ice cream shops that are busy is that I like sugar cones. I love the crunchiness of the sugar cone. For hard pack scoopable ice cream, I like sugar cones. I don't really like waffle cones. I like sugar, and I prefer that over cups. But if I'm talking about soft serve ice cream, then it's got to be cake cones. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I'd be interested to know. Sugar or cake, depending on the type of ice cream, what is your preference? Or maybe you're like a waffle or cup guy. And I think fairly reasonable, like a big scoop, single flavor scoop in a sugar cone was just under $5. So very reasonably priced, I think, for modern times. I guess it's probably because it's supported by the school, so it doesn't have to make a tremendous amount of money. Rusty says Partagas was also delicious to the very end of the burning. Oh, nice, nice. So your Partagas, is that the Partagas, was that I wasn't familiar with that. Was that a Cuban or was that a non-Cuban? The crack in the wrapper is getting a little bit more robust. And right now, this last two puffs right there, I'm really liking that draw. Like there was some tightness to the draw throughout the cigar. That last two puffs was just right, just the right amount of draw for my personal taste. Non-Cuban. Okay, gotcha, gotcha. While I'm finding the flavor to be good. Not very good, not great, but just good. But I'm kind of, I was just thinking this moment now, I'm puffing on it fairly regularly, very, maybe even heavily. And I think that I tend to do that when I'm enjoying a particular cigar. But it's not a cigar. Let's say I'm enjoying. Let's say the interpretation is that I am enjoying this. I'm not enjoying this the way that other cigars, where I'm really puffing on hard because there's like lots of flavor experiences. It's very dynamic. I'm not finding this to be a very dynamic flavor experience. I'm finding it to be rather static overall. But it's not bad. Oh, and the wrapper is not coming off well. The wrapper's pretty tight on. I think you can kind of see it's a little bit getting tighter on there. I don't know. I'm curious to know, like, we've done a lot of cigars on the show, and I'm presuming that at some point you guys have tried some of the cigars that we've had on here and maybe have taken a moment to compare my reflections on the cigars that we've tried. And I'm wondering, do you find yourselves to be in agreement or disagreement with my typical position on a cigar in general? Yeah, this just peeling off strangely. Look at that. Like, I want to preserve it as much as possible. I'll let it heat up a little more. I mean, we're only an hour 18, and we're pretty far into this cigar now. I'm starting to wonder, will this make it the rest of the way? It's a little bit humid out tonight. George, how are you finding it out there on your balcony? I wonder if here inside the garage, even though the doors are open, if maybe it's a bit warmer where I am at the moment versus being if I was actually outside. So I mentioned that I'm working on this old bandsaw. It's a 1934, 1935 Delta 14-inch bandsaw, the cast iron. And it's on this stand. And I was like, okay, I want to make the stand so that it will roll so I can move it. So I bought these double locking casters to put on them, 2.5 inches. They're pretty short in the world of casters, right? But I put the body on the top of the stand. I mounted the casters the other day, and then I mounted the half of the frame on, and and then the table positioner to see like what height would the table be. And I think I'm estimating the table height to now be at 48 inches, which is god awful tall. Like, I'm thinking that's too tall. I stopped, like I said, I stopped by this one woodworking shop, Woodcraft in Wilmington, and I was measuring the height of the bandsaw tables they have there. They had a Laguna 14 and a Powermatic 14, and those measured at 38 and 40 inches for the table height. And I was like, that's comfortable, but I think 48 is not going to be comfortable. And I'm wondering, like, with 2.5 inches added to it, like, that's pretty darn low. I mean, it's pretty darn high. Even if I was to delete the casters, like, I don't know if that would be enough. Like, I'm hoping that I don't have to remake a base for it because I was like, ugh. Well, 48 inches means that you're working like this, and that's just not. It's good, I guess, because you can see the sight line is much closer to your face. But George says it's great on the balcony. I'll take heat and humidity over cold any day. Oh yeah, I hear you. I guess I hear you on that. I was just thinking this the other day. I was like, or earlier today, I was like, man, what about when it gets really cold? Uh-oh, we're having some problems now. Look at this. It's starting to burn through the wrapper here. Now I don't know if it's burning through or if it's just burning down the cracked wrapper. I think it's just burning. Yeah, it's just burning down. Just burning down the cracked wrapper. I want to get that band off before it gets very damaged. See if I can cut this off without inflicting too much issues. Oh, perfect. Yeah, no damage. Good. So while I was up there in Pennsylvania, there's two actually, where the WTB woodworking is. There's actually another woodworking shop called H Valley. So I stopped by there because they have some interesting stuff there, relatively affordable like products. And I've been needing. I have these old chisels from construction days, right? These Craftsman heavy duty ones that are working fairly well. But I was thinking maybe I need a nicer pair, and not that these are nicer pairs, like these are cheap Chinese. But look, it's only 10. It was on their clearance aisle, $10, $2.50 a piece. So I thought, oh, you know what? For $2.50 a piece, let me try those. Niao Shan, some Chinese brand. So it might be interesting. I was watching some videos as I was driving back on how to like resharpen them and like make them nicer. And then for the bandsaw, like it had this switch on it, right? An old switch with like this old like 2-wire like connections. So there's no ground because it's pretty old. And the cable on it was like brittle and hard and like actually cracked all the way through, so that the two like neutral and hot strands were like open to each other so they could touch. And I was like, okay, that's just dangerous. Let's cut that all out. We're going to get rid of it and change the switch. And I wanted to change the switch to something more safety oriented. And I was looking at Woodcraft here in Timonium, and they have this one safety switch, but it's like $50. I was like, damn, $50. So I looked online at Amazon, $35. I was like, $35. That's still a lot of money. So I happened to go to this place, H Valley, and they had the same similar switch for $30. I was like, oh, $30. Okay, that's more like it. That's closer to the Amazon price. And I prefer to buy stuff in person than at Amazon. And so as I was going around and I found their clearance aisle where they had this, they also had the same one for $30. But instead of having cords, it doesn't have any cords, which I'm like, I don't really want the cords because I would have to rewire it anyway. And this was only $15. So I was like, oh, that's great. So you press the button here, so when you stop it, you just hit this big paddle, which is supposed to be nicer, right? I don't know if these are magnetic. I doubt these are magnetic switches, right? But if you get magnetic switches, the nice thing about magnetic switches is that in case you lose power, the magnetic switch breaks, so that it shuts off. It shuts it off internally because the magnet is broken, and so when power is restored, if you haven't switched it off, it's already off, so it won't just be running, which could be a problem, right? So I was like, oh, good thing I totally didn't buy anything because I totally found this at a great deal. So not bad. I was thinking about those casters, right? And I was thinking maybe they have smaller casters at the store. So when I was at the store, I was looking around and like this 2.5 inches was the smallest. I was like, oh man. Okay, so now it's smoking very nicely. Like draw is really great. Smoke production is really great. Everything about the smokability of it is really fantastic. Flavor is not really changed. Not really dynamic in that respect, but it's actually smoking really well. Now that we're moving into the last third. So we should give our score here. I still think we're relatively the same, 7.75 for flavor. And I think we're still at 8.25 for the body. The body is still very good. An 8.25. Oh, right onto the score sheet. You know, one thing I was looking at, when I stopped by that Mallin's Deli, which if you're in Newark, Mallin's Deli is actually very, very good. Like for hoagies, subs, really great. Like I've had quite a few subs there now. Today I had their cheesesteak, the small 6-inch, ate half of it, just enough. And but everything I've had there, I've had the Italians, I've had some of the other stuff, but really, really good. So if you're looking for, and they're also really famous for their the gobbler type thing, like the turkey breast with like stuffing and cranberries. Really, really good. So if you're ever up there in Newark, right by the University of Delaware, Mallin's Deli. But while I was there, I was thinking, you know, it's a warm night. Let's see if they have like a cold brew coffee. There's really, when you go to like regular stores, there's really not much in the world of cold coffees. Like you really have to seek it out. They had some of the monster stuff we had that one week, and I was like, oh no, not again. Never again. Cigarito's with us. What's going on, Cigarito? The cigar. When you say what is that? You mean the cigar? This cigar is the from Luciano Cigars in Esteli, Nicaragua. This is their Underrated, which is a cigar that they made with. Now I've already forgotten the name. It's a cigar they created in honor of the legendary. I gotta rock around here. The legendary basketball player Ron Harper. Which when I picked this up at the cigar shop and I asked the guy in the humidor, I said, "What's this all about?" Underrated. He's like, "Well, it's a cigar with made by Ron Harper." And I was like, "I don't know Ron Harper." He's like, "Well, it's a basketball guy." I was like, "Oh, okay." I was originally not going to buy it because I was like, "Oh, how good can it be?" But it was like the one that looked most interesting in the humidor to me today, so I picked it up anyway. And it was very reasonably priced at $9. The MSRP is $8.20 for this. Is a 6.25 by 52 Toro. And you know, darker wrapper. So the wrapper is a Mexican San Andres, and what's supposed to be different about the cigar is that they're using a different type of filler. The filler, so it's a Pueblo Nuevo Medio Tempo binder with Connecticut broadleaf and Ecuadorian HVA fillers. So these fillers, the Ecuadorian HVA and the Connecticut broadleaf, are typically wrappers in most cigars. So it's supposed to be interesting, but you know, I'm finding it to be. It's a darker, broody. I describe the character of the cigar as being dark and brooding, but it's not like I'm finding it to be good, but not like very good flavor wise. It's got this darker, broody character, but it's kind of been very static in the way that it's carried through, at least on my palate. And so, like, I can't say that I can't say that it's been a very dynamic smoke flavor wise, but it's been. I mean, I've been going through it, and I'm not terribly bored. I'm not really bored at all, but I'm just not like wowed by it. And when you read their press releases, it's very and lots of superlatives describing this incredible cigar. And I'm not finding my reaction to be equivalent to the descriptions. Steven's with us. What's going on, Steven, man? How are you doing? How are things in Phoenix? Hope things are well. Is it? I'm presuming that we're over 100 degrees in Phoenix by now. Did I say cigarito or did I say cigaristo? If I said cigarito, my apologies. It's cigaristo. But construction-wise, it's been very good. The draw was tight overall, but not too restrictive. Not like you're pulling. Like sometimes you get these cigars that are super, super tight, and you're really kind of pulling and pulling and pulling, and you're like not getting much. It's not like that. And construction-wise, it's been very good overall. We did have a little bit of cracking of the wrapper just a few moments ago before, like we're kind of burned through most of that cracked wrapper area. And it didn't affect the smokability of the cigar, and it didn't really affect the flavor. But the character of the cigar is kind of dark and broody, kind of like Aroma Craft Intemperance would be. Intemperance BA21 would be dark, but without that weighty heaviness, spiciness of that cigar. Like this doesn't have a lot of spice to it. It's had a little bit of cayenne pepper at one point. It's had spurts of brightness, acidity throughout the cigar, but not a consistent, um, not a consistent character component to the character. Steven says currently 104. Wow, and under a heat warning, but as usual, nothing new. So basically, situation normal. Hmm. I don't know if you saw this, but I saw it on TikTok earlier today, and I thought when I saw it that it was an AI generated video because it looked like I was like that can't be real. But basically, it was a 787 Boeing Dreamliner. I think the 787-8 taking off from an airport in India, going to Manchester, United Kingdom, I think it was. And this 787 had just taken off. Flaps, I think, were extended, landing gear fully extended, and this thing was pitched up, right? It's pitched up, and it's just going down, and it crashes and blows up and explodes in this fireball. And I was like, that can't be real. That's one of the safest airliners I've ever been in, right? It's relatively new. I've been on the Dreamliner many times. They're really quite enjoyable, but I can't. This thing was, and then later I found out it was real, and I was like, "Holy God, man, this is crazy!" Like, and what I've seen, I don't know if you've seen this video, but it's really just kind of crazy. Evidently, the guys that I saw videos about it, there's a guy Swiss001 and a guy Mentor Pilot. They're on YouTube, and they did videos about it, and I was like, "What?" And the the 787, one of the big things about it was that it's powered by either Rolls-Royce or GE90 engines, which are like really, really good engines. But evidently, one of the guys pointed out in the video that you don't hear the engines running, right? Like, and the speculation right now is that they had bird strikes or something caused the engines to fail on takeoff. So they were able to get lift. They probably reached the V1 speed, which is their commitment speed. So there's V1 and V2. V1 is they reach a certain speed. I think it's 100, like 110, 120 miles per hour. And once they reach that speed, they kind of have to decide whether they're going to reject the takeoff and try to stop, or they're going to go through the takeoff and go. So once they reach V2, which is, I think on that aircraft, it's probably close to 175 miles an hour, then they rotate, they pull the stick back, they pull the yoke back, and the plane takes off. And if you're like me and you're kind of fascinated by aviation, I watch a lot of aviation videos over the years, and like I like to watch the cockpit videos, and the guys talk about, like, so you watch them take off, and they reach the V1, they reach V2, they rotate, they take off, and then they pull up the landing gear, but they always call out positive rate. So once they have a positive rate of climb, then they pull they hit the lever and the wheels come up. And one of the guys was speculating they don't pull the, I don't know why they didn't pull up the landing gear. Well, they probably didn't pull up the landing gear because they didn't reach positive rate of climb. Like they probably were trying to fly this plane, positive rate wasn't achieved, so they leave the gear down. I don't know why you leave the gear down. I guess there's no choice. And they evidently there's a, I forgot what they call it. That's not an APU. The APU is in the back of the plane. The nose cone has what they call the APU, the auxiliary power unit, which is basically like another turbine engine in the tail that they'll turn on and run to when they don't have the engines running. They'll run the APU, and that's what supplies power to the entire plane. So when you're boarding the plane, they're running the APU, and that's why you have power and air conditioning running. And then when they start the engines, they turn the APU off and they switch all the power to the engines, all the electric generation to the engines. And so there's another thing that they can deploy that pops out of the, I think, out of the fuselage that is kind of like a little propeller that you deploy it and it will spin and generate electricity for the aircraft. I forgot the exact term for it. Evidently, one of the guys noticed that that had been deployed. So the speculation that they were saying was that probably on takeoff, they had an engine failure, twin engine failure. Both engines evidently failed because there was no, you would have expected that as the plane was crashing, like if you watch this one Airbus 300 crash from like Toulouse, France back in the 90s, the Airbus, I think it was a 300 or A330, they were taking it off and they ended up crashing it like just past the runway because the configuration was wrong or something. And like you hear them and they're powering it up and there's the engines are screaming and like they still crash and just get killed. But this one, they said that in the video, there's no sound of the engine spooling. So the engines were probably off or failed. So they reached like 600 to 800 feet and then just kind of, I was like, oh my God, man, that is just so. For me, it's kind of, it's really horrific because I think about like many times that I'm in an aircraft, that aircraft, for example, and and a Boeing 787 is a pretty big twin aisle aircraft. It's about 19 to 20 feet across, right? So from wall to wall, it's about 20 feet. It's huge. And you sit there and you look at the other people as you're taking off. You're like, oh, there's a lot of people over there. And to think that you're just taking off and then like, I can only imagine being a passenger, just hoping to God that they're like going to recover. And then you crash. Like that just, to me, that's just utterly horrific. Utterly, utterly horrific. So I am curious to see what in time, probably in about 2 years from now, we'll probably know exactly what happened and what caused the failure of this plane. Now, I did see a video before we started tonight that somebody had posted that that flight was flown there on a revenue flight to that airport, and somebody posted on that flight to the airport that there was all kinds of electrical problems. Like they were having problems with the entertainment system and electricity within the aircraft. So maybe the aircraft had electrical issues and it just shut everything off when they were taking off. And that's why they crashed, which is kind of like, man, like you'd think they would fix that issue before they left. But I would imagine that the airport that they're in is probably not one of Air India's bases. They might have been gambling with the idea of like, okay, let's just fly it back. We'll fly it back to London, to the UK, and fix it there. And I don't know how full the plane was, but I was like, man, scary, just scary. And I like the 787 because I remember, and I kind of have this, when I started in coffee in 2002, 2003, I started going to Seattle to learn. And, you know, back then is when they were still in the middle of developing the 787. So I watched the development of that because we would go to the Boeing Museum in Renton. I mean, not in Renton, but in Everett. And, you know, it was really curious because it was the first carbon fiber bodied aircraft. And so to see it to crash, it's like, man, that's just terrible. Like, and this is the very first crash of the 787. And it's total destruction there. Craig's with us. What's going on, Craig, man? How are things in Ottawa? How's the house coming? I'm curious about your house. I always ask how the house is coming. I mean, I haven't really had any real issues in the years that I've flown. Like, I had one time I was flying out of Honolulu. The weather was really bad. And man, like, you have turbulence. Turbulence is usually very fleeting. It can be kind of hairy, but it's usually very fleeting. One time we were taking off from Honolulu, man, the turbulence was heavy, heavy. Like, there's very few times I've been scared. And this is one of the times because we were taking off and the turbulence starts just the moment we take off. And for the next 45 minutes, man, this plane is shaking all over the place. No matter how far they're going up, man, this plane is just shaking the heck out of us. It's like, oh God, are we going to die today? Or is this going to be it? Craig says, cool temps here, and my lawn is recovering. Oh, nice. Oh, right, because you had the fires, right? Or last week you were having fires up in that part of the country. Was there a lot of damage? Here in America, they don't really report on that. The only reason I know there's fire, because I think you said that last week. I mean, here we're not really reporting much of anything other than what's going on in LA. Steven says he's smoking the Tatuai 20th and drinking the liquid death. Oh, nice. The liquid death as in the water or don't they make an energy drink too? I went to this event in 2002 in Los Angeles for a big YouTube event called VidCon. Liquid Death is one of the sponsors. And first time I heard about it before that, but I never tried it. And they were just giving away Liquid Death free, right? In those big like cans, crowlers, I think they call them, big, huge cans with the Liquid Death logo. And I was like, what is this Liquid Death? It's just water. It's water. It's water. Water in a can. I was like, all right. Craig says lots of smoke from west of here. I just had way too many. Too many they say you can eat the dandelions. I've never tried it, but I hear you can eat them. I don't know if they're very good. I've heard people make dandelion soup out of it. I was staying at my cousin's house. She was asking me this morning. She's like, "What do you know about rhubarb?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't really know much about rhubarb. I don't think you can eat it raw. I don't think it's good for you raw, but you can make it into pie with strawberries." We made a couple of rhubarb things at Spro over the years, but it's such a fleeting, for me, to my mind, it's such a fleeting window of opportunity. Like right now, we're in the middle of strawberries, right? So it's like, I need to go get some strawberries. But last year, I bought a bunch of field cases of strawberries from one of the local farmers. And I made a boatload of strawberry jam from it, which is great, but I haven't used it all. So I still got like a ton of strawberry jam. So I'm like, well, I don't need to make any more. I still got at least a year's worth left. So next summer, strawberry jam again. The cigar's still on its same path. Like, it hasn't really changed. It's still going along, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just not terribly exciting. Like, it's not really like, oh, this is amazing. Like, oh, I'm like totally blown away. But it's been a constant. It's been a constant. Like, I described that one cigar we had last week was that the last week one? Yeah, last week, the Buffalo 10 Maduro. I described that as a good companion. Like, that was a companion cigar, $6 and a good companion. This is similar in that vein, that it's very consistent at a little bit higher price point, $9 instead of $6. 50% more. But this is a different cigar. Like, this is not. That's a little bit lighter, a little more fun. This is a little bit more dark, a lot more brooding. I'm not terribly blown away by it. I'm not disappointed really either. Oh, there's a little bit of the aftertaste of that last puff has a little bit of like spiciness, maybe a little bit of like paprika, a little more of that cayenne, kind of like a very, very light residual flavor of what I would describe as like crab seasoning. Like here we have the Old Bay in Maryland. There's a little bit of that hint of that. Yeah, definitely. Again, there's that spicy, like crabs. It's not like outright crabs Old Bay seasoning, but it's got kind of that. Like if you ever eat Old Bay seasoning, and once you finish with the flavor, there's a residual spiciness note on your tongue. I'm getting that right now. Steven says, I drink the iced tea flavors and murder my thirst. Oh, no. Well, that's why they call it liquid death, right? I didn't even know they made an iced tea flavor. I thought I was under the impression they only really had like water and maybe some kind of energy drink. I mean, I don't really know. I didn't really pay close attention to liquid death. I thought when it was water, I was like, oh, that's a bit gimmicky. Why would I spend all that? I don't know how much it cost. I mean, it didn't cost us anything at this event, but I was thinking if I was to buy this, would I buy this? But you're liking the iced tea? Am I understanding correctly? Maybe I'll go try it. How sweet is it though? I have really kind of stopped drinking most sweet sodas or sweet teas and stuff like that. I've really kind of stayed more in the diet than non-sugary drinks. I will make an exception from time to time, like when I'm up in Connecticut. Oh, actually, even I didn't make an exception this time. I was going to say I make an exception because there's a particular soda up in Connecticut, the New Haven, Hartford area, called Fox on Park. I guess it's a park. They're called Fox on, and they have a particular one called the White Birch. It's like a birch beer but clear. Man, that's really good. And but it's one of their most popular flavors. So they have a diet flavor of that. So and that's pretty good. Like I remember when we were younger, right, in the '80s, I would be in New York City, and Snapple was really just a regional like New York City soda. And they had what was it? They had like a cream soda. Man, I love that. I used to love that. But you can only get it in New York back then. And then Snapple became this bigger brand, and it started being national. And when they became national, they were more like they got rid of a lot of the flavors. There was a red colored one that I really liked too. They got rid of that. And I was like, man, some of those classic flavors. I wish they had those. I would like to have that. So, Stephen, I'm curious because you're like in the automotive trades. What are your thoughts on Harbor Freight? Like I got the Harbor Freight app, so I always see like they always have notifications for like their sales. They have a big parking lot sale this week where they're doing like the Icon wrenches. Now, I don't really need any wrenches. I got plenty of wrenches here, mostly Craftsman. But I'm just curious, like as an automotive professional, what are your thoughts on these Icon tools? Are they are they the equivalent of the Snap-ons and Matcos? Once upon a time, I was really had this fantasy notion that I could be like, a wizard with vehicles, right? I was like, I could do that. So I was in my mind, somehow it got in my mind that I wanted to have a ratchet, a pneumatic ratchet. And I was like, I need a snap-on ratchet. So I chased down the snap-on guy in his truck, right? I saw the snap-on guy one day and he was parked somewhere. I was like, "Rrrr." Went up to him, hey man, do you have the ratchet? He's like, yeah. Can I buy it from you? So I bought one of those Snap-on wraps, and they're awesome. I almost never used it as much, like totally overkill. But it is pretty awesome. Like it's an awesome tool. You know, because you like that whole like and the sound that the pneumatic tools make. Steven says that's just it's not very sweet. Low sugar, that's thirst quenching. Oh, all right, excellent. All right, maybe okay. Next, if I see it out, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna give it a try. Because a lot of the teas that are on the market, man, they're super sweet. I'm just like, oh God, I don't like any of that. I don't like any of that stuff. And I grew up drinking sweet tea. Nowadays, I really enjoy just tea, like iced tea, but no sugar. I just like the flavor. I'm like, oh, I like that. Like sometimes I would go like before when I was opening the shop like at 7, I would go into work at like 6. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, I would get grief from some of my customers because I would have this cup sitting on there that I was drinking. And my normal breakfast, the only place open, of course, there's McDonald's is open, but God knows you don't want a McDonald's breakfast like most days. You don't want to eat McDonald's breakfast on the regular. So there was Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A was the only place open, so I go to Chick-fil-A, and I would typically get their chicken sandwich with hash browns and a large unsweet tea. That was really nice. Some mornings when they made the tea like super fresh, man, it was super delicious. Like it was like, oh, this is delicious. This is delicious iced tea. Then other days it was like from who knows when they made it, but you could tell that it wasn't super super fresh. It's like, oh, it's not as good. So I'll go there most mornings. So for many years, I was like the highest tier of like Chick-fil-A's like frequent flyer points. I think I had at one point. I think, and when it comes to frequent flyer points, I'm really bad at using my points. Like I don't like to use the points for some reason. Like I'm really like cheap on using them. So I think at one point I think I had amassed like 35,000 points. It was really crazy amount. I've since not I don't since I don't open the shops. I don't have to be up early in the morning, so I don't really go to Chick-fil-A anymore. And I looked today and we're talking about it, and I was like, oh, I still have 12. I think I still have 13,000 points. I was like, but the problem is that you it sounds like it's a lot, but really when you start to redeem them, you're burning through them at a very high rate. Like I was looking, their deluxe grilled chicken sandwich, if you buy it by points, is 1,500 points. I'm like 1,500 points. Talk about devaluing your like programs. Like it's very, very disappointing. Another thing that happened to me recently, I bought some new shoes. Like I've been thinking, feeling like summertime has come, right? So normally when I'm out working in the workshop or whatever, for the last couple of years, I've been using these boots called muck boots. And these are like waterproof neoprene and rubber boots, which are great. They're great. So I have a pair that's high that has steel toe. And then I've got a pair of these Chelsea boots that I really like, and they're really nice. But the problem is that when you get to summertime, your feet sweat. Like your feet sweat not massively. Like my feet are sopping, but you can definitely feel the moisture, and it's like very irritating. So when I was in Texas, I was thinking, maybe I should look for some boots. So I went to this Western shop called Cavender's in Houston, and they had a bunch of Ariats, and I remember Bud likes to use Ariat work boots, the Western style work boots, and I'm like, oh, he's always like very much, he's all about them. And I'm like, oh, that sounds really good. So I was trying them on. They had some Chelsea style boots, but I want the safety toe, right? So I'm looking for safety toe. And I found a pair, but I was like, you know what? Do I want to fly these back home? And they're $160. I'm like, I don't want to spend $160, right? I wouldn't mind buying the Western version, but here's the problem: is it gets summertime, and I like to wear shorts in the summer. You could wear Chelsea boots with shorts, okay, that's all right. But Western boots with shorts, no. Guys cannot wear Western boots with shorts. That is not okay. Girls can do it. Guys should never do that, right? That just looks weird. So I'm like, I can't buy those. So I went to Boot Barn here, and they're like, no, they don't have anything like that I'm looking for. So man, it's disappointing. Like they have other work boots that have safety tools, but they're more like the high tops with like multiple holes, like higher boots. I'm like, I don't want that. That's too confining for summer. Right? I want light and easy. So I couldn't find anything. So I'm like, and plus I'm cheap. I don't want to spend a lot of money. So I decided to go on Zappos, and I found a pair of shoes that I think work pretty well. That I think will be great for summer. This pair called Avenger, a company called Avenger, and they look like Vans, like skate shoes with safety toes, and they're pretty comfortable. And the best bit, $40. It's like, oh, $40. Okay, I'll spend that. And if I wear them out in a year or 2 years, that's perfectly fine because it's only $40. I was like, all right, I like $40 to prevent my tootsies from getting crushed. Steven says that icon wrenches anyway are great starter tools for upcoming technicians. Oh, okay, okay. I mean, I got some of their other like pliers that I think are pretty good. But I was looking at the icon pliers. My friend had a pair of these pliers, and they're cutters. They were the cutters, the wire cutters. And I was thinking about, and they're nice. They're super beefy, right? They're super thick. They got that red handle. But I was comparing them. I was thinking about them compared to my like Klein wire cutters, and they're just so beefy. Like it's almost like a bit clunky comparatively, right? And then I think if you were to compare it to like Knipex, it's not as. But Knipex are so much more expensive. Like if you buy like I think if you buy like a pliers wrench from Knipex, it's like $50. Whereas the ones from Harbor Freight or from Icon are like maybe 30, 25, 30. But the pliers wrench, I was looking at the one that Harbor Freight has from their brand called Doyle. I think those are pretty kind of nice. I have a set of pliers wrench that I'm using for a very particular purpose that doesn't really need a lot of torque. I got a pair from at Home Depot from the brand Crescent, and they're for what I'm using it for. They're perfectly fine. They're just a bit like the tolerances are very loose, so the two handles kind of wobble a little bit. But I'm only using to pull out like wooden like more tenons, so it's not like it's not a heavy duty use. So it's like this is perfectly fine. So the cigar, this Luciano Underrated, it has been very consistent performance wise. Like the construction has been very good. The flavor has been good. Like I said, it's been dark, it's been brooding, it's been kind of moody, a little bit of bursts of like spice, maybe a little bit of cayenne, some of that Old Bay finish, some spurts of like brightness. So it's perfectly a decent cigar, but it's not like a compellingly like I gotta rush and buy more. Like it's good. So let's go with we're pretty much at the end of this. So let's go to our scoring here. I still think we're at good plus 775 for the flavor. Body's still very consistent, and I'm giving that 825 again. Now we're going to get into the burn and draw section. So burn has been very good. Draw has been very good. So I'm going to say 875 for that. And consistency, I mean, it's been very consistent. Like it has been. So, I mean, I'm going to say consistency has been very consistent. I'm going to say it's excellent consistency. Now, overall, we've got a lot of 775, got a lot of 825. So I'm going to say that I'm just going to say we got 8. Very good. Oops. Which gives us a total score of 81.5 points. So not bad, not bad. Now, if I look here on Cigar Press, Stogie Press, they had the same cigar, the Luciano Cigars Underrated Toro Special. They gave it a 92. Now, that's that's like a 10.5 disparity between us. But I think that a lot of, not to diss what they're doing, but I think that a lot of like cigar reviewers tend to give very high scores overall, comparatively. So there's that. Steven says that Royalty Auto Service in Florida started an internet war, performing the nylon nut test and beat Snap-on several times. Oh, I think I saw some of those. Chris, one of my good friends, he's like, the Icon are basically the equivalent of Snap-on. And I don't have a lot of Snap-on. I don't have any Snap-on actually, except for that ratchet. But from what I've seen, and I would imagine that the Icons are probably qualitatively probably as good, just perhaps not as much finesse. And I'm saying that really based a lot on that, on some that like that. Let's say that wire cutter, right? That wire cutter's very robust. It's very like beefy. It's super heavy. It's got like, I'm sure it cuts really well, but it just doesn't feel as much finesse as, let's say, the Klein. So I'm going to presume that that's similar. Now, I've seen some of the Icon stuff. It looks really nicely polished and like looks really, really kind of sexy. I was like, "Oh." But I don't use those kind of wrenches enough to warrant replacement of what I have. So it's like, but I think they are kind of nice. Oh, we saw that one. Steven says Royalty is a fantastic channel for car repairs. One of the best out there. I highly recommend. Oh, okay, okay. I will look them up. All right, so that is the Luciano Underrated Toro Especial, 6 1/4 by 52. I'd say it's a good to very good cigar. Not high in the very good, like it's only 81.5, but it's still good. It's solid. It smoked solid. It had an interesting character to it. I think it's worth at least one exploration. Steven says Snap-on does have a higher performance rating, commercial rating on their tools. Ah, okay. I mean, I would hope so. I mean, like, Snap-on are not, they're not inexpensive tools. I think my brother has an assortment of Snap-on and Matco. Though I think he's more of a Matco guy than a Snap-on guy. I really should. I have to ask him also what he thinks. But I'm enjoying this. Overall, I think I'm enjoying it. It's just that it's not. It hasn't been one of those cigars that really takes you on a dramatic journey. It's just consistent. It's consistent. It's at a. No, I want to say. I want to say that it's at a higher price point at the eight to $9 range, but I guess in modern times that's not terribly high anymore. I would like there to be a little more oomph, a little bit more of a fantastical journey for that price point. Like if this was at the same price point as last week's cigar, which was the Buffalo 10, like perfectly fine. $6, perfectly fine. 9, I'd like to see a little more performance out of it. All right, that's getting a bit too hot to hold now. All right, so there it is. The Luciano Cigars Underrated. That's our cigar for the week. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. I appreciate you always here on Thursday night. Back again next Thursday, and I think next Thursday, like I said, we're going to be away. Not far away, just a little. We won't be here just because I think that I won't be able to get back in time. So hope you have a wonderful week out there. Thank you very much, Mom. Good to see you. So hope you guys have a great week, and see you next time.